Hi everyone, welcome back to my channels. And today we are going to start with a CSS, which is stand for Cascading Style Sheet, and we use CSS for styling our web page. Okay, so before starting CSS, uh, I want to I want to tell you something. Okay, this video is a perfect for beginner, but even if you don't have any prior experience with a CSS, with a CSS core web technology, by the end of this video, you are able to understand what is a CSS and how CSS work, how to apply a CSS, okay, and how to structure your web page, okay. So this all things by the end of this video, you are able to understand, okay. So let's get start with our CSS and coming to our Visual Studio screen first, okay. So in this video, we will cover the five topics in CSS, and uh, we start like what is a CSS, then how to add a CSS in HTML, what are the basic syntax in CSS, types of selector in CSS, and some text styling. Okay, so let's get start with our first topic. What is a CSS and why it is important? Okay, so first of all, understand CSS is a cascading style sheet, and it is a language we use to style our web page. Okay, okay. What is a CSS? CSS is a cascading style sheet. Okay, CSS is a cascading style sheet, and it is used to style it is used to style our web page. Okay, great. Are you able to understand till here? Okay, okay. What is the CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, and we use to style our web page. To make our website beautiful, we use CSS. Okay, for what reason we use CSS? To make our site beautiful. Okay, great. So that reason only we use a CSS. Okay. The second question is why it is important. Okay, suppose if you are not using a CSS, then your web page is not look like a website. Okay, it's just look like a simple HTML page, like some links are randomly, some images are randomly structured in your web page. Okay, using the CSS, we we can structurize all these things in proper manner, and as per user need, we can arrange. Okay, using the CSS. For that reason only, CSS is very important, and I will explain you through an example why CSS is important. Okay, so for that, for explaining, I mean, I'm going to Mintra.com. Okay, great. So you can see, right? Mintra.com is looking very awesome, right? Looking very awesome. Like these are the best uh, logo, Mintra logo, then name bar, then at the right side you have a profile, wish list bag, and you are able to see the search box. Okay, then you have a good scroll images, like cursor images, then you have a this much images, right? So why Mintra look like this? Because of only because of CSS. Okay, if you remove whole CSS from Mintra, so the Mintra site not look like the actual Mintra site. I will show you how can I do. So for that reason, you use Control Shift I. So using Control Shift I, we can open a developer tools. Okay, and okay, I will show you. Suppose if I suppose if I remove CSS from Mintra site, okay, so how our Mintra site is look, okay. So for that, I have already save a code for removing. This is a JavaScript code, okay. You don't worry about uh, JavaScript code right now. You just focus on what I'm explaining, okay. So I'm going to remove whole CSS from Mintra site, okay. When I just enter this code in console, you are able to see, right? At left side, you can see. This is our Mintra side, okay. But this Mintra side is only of HTML and CSS. There is a sorry, HTML and JavaScript. There is a no CSS we are using here. That's why it's look like this, okay. So that's the power of CSS, okay. So if we use a CSS, this simple web page looking like a awesome, right? You can see, right? Using the CSS, we can make very beautiful, right? We can make our web page very beautiful. So that's the power of CSS, and for that reason only we use a CSS. That's the important of CSS. Okay. So good. We have covered first topic till here. What is the CSS and why it is important? Okay. So the second topic. So let's move to second topic. So second topic is how to add CSS in HTML file. Okay. So for adding CSS in HTML file, there is a three way. Okay. So what are these? First is we can use add CSS in HTML file, HTML page. Add CSS in HTML page. There are three ways. Okay. So what are the three way? First one is inline CSS. Inline CSS. Second one is internal CSS. Okay. Sorry, CSS. Great. And third one is external CSS. Okay. So our second topic is how to add CSS in HTML. And why we add CSS in HTML? Because we want to style our HTML page, right? So for that reason, we need to add a CSS in HTML file, right? So for adding a CSS in HTML page, there are three ways we can add a CSS. So first is inline CSS, second is the internal CSS, and third one is the external CSS. So what is the difference between inline CSS, internal CSS, and external CSS? I will explain you one by one. Okay. So first is inline CSS, right? Inline CSS. So inline CSS is the CSS we can directly use inside a element. Suppose if you want to style paragraph, paragraph tag, okay. So you can directly use a style attribute inside your paragraph, and that styling we can call it as a inline CSS. Or inline CSS we can directly use in directly using uh, element HTML element. We can say that HTML element we can directly use in HTML element. Okay, great. I will explain you through an code also. Don't worry. Okay. So what is the inline CSS? Inline CSS is the CSS. Suppose if you want to style any element, we directly use a style tag inside that element. So that CSS we called as a inline CSS, and I will explain you through an code. So for that, we need to first create one HTML file. Okay, learning css.html. Okay, so this is our HTML file. We have suppose why we have use .html, because we need to create a HTML file For that reason, we use .html. Suppose if you want to create a text file, you use .txt. Suppose if you want to create a JavaScript file, you can use .js, right? So the extension is depend upon what kind of file you want to make. Okay, so now we want to make an HTML file. For that reason, we use .html. Okay, great. So for we use a template. Great. What is the title? This is a CSS learning. Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay, so for applying CSS to an element, we need to first create an element for that, right? Great. So first I create a one h1 hello CSS. Okay, and second is one paragraph with some lorem text. It's a dummy text. Okay, lorem text. Great. Okay, so I will show you the output of this code first, and then I will explain you. Okay, are you able to see the output? We have created first one heading and one paragraph, right? Okay, great. Great. So, okay. So, we have discussed here inline CSS, right? So, what is the inline CSS? We can directly use a style tag. We can directly use style in HTML element. So that styling we can call as inline CSS. Suppose if you want to style a H1, but you want to style H1 element with the inline CSS. So how can you do? Like just directly use style tag inside your element like this. Style tag. And suppose you want to change the color of you want to change the color to aqua. And if you save the code, you can see here right side, right? We have successfully changed our H1 color to aqua, right? So in this way, we can use inline CSS directly inside in element. Suppose if you want to change the color of paragraph, so how can you directly use a style element, right? If we change a background color, okay. So background color we use red over here. Okay, so for paragraph we use a background color red. So we check for a background color and then suppose we use a brown color, okay, as a brown background for paragraph. Great, right? Yeah. So in this way only we use inline CSS. Okay, so this is the first way we can add a CSS to an HTML file. Now second way is okay. Okay. The second way is internal CSS. Okay, second one is internal CSS. Internal CSS. So internal CSS means we can use a CSS inside a HTML file, but we use style tag in head section of our HTML document. Okay, we use a CSS, we use a style tag, we use a style tag inside and head head section of an HTML document. HTML doc. Okay. So internal CSS means we have internally in HTML file only we have used a style, but in a head section we use. Okay. Great. Like suppose I have created another heading like this H2. This is heading 2. Okay. Great. And one more paragraph for internal for applying internal CSS. Okay. So lorem 24. Right. And what is the output of this code? You can see here, right? This is the heading second and one more paragraph. Great. So how can we apply internal CSS to this H2 paragraph? By simply write style tag inside an head section. We use the style tag inside a head section and write like, suppose if you want to style H2, you want to change the color of H2 to to similar like green. So you can just write H2 curly brackets, then property and the value. Okay, great. And what is the output? You can see, right? This is the heading 2. Great. We have successfully changed. We have style our H2. Okay, great. So in this way, we have used internal CSS in HTML. So if you want to style the paragraph, so you can, okay, so you can use P and the color is, which color want to give? Red. Okay, you can see, right? The color red. And do you have you observed one thing? When we use inline CSS, it will affect only for this paragraph, okay, for this. But when we use internal CSS, right, when we write p tag here, so it will style all the paragraph which are present in our HTML document. So we are going to style for this paragraph only, but by default it will this style apply to for this paragraph also. Okay, you can see, right? This paragraph color also changed to red color. Great. So that's the difference. Okay, great. Then uh, last one is external CSS. Okay, external CSS means we have created a separate CSS file, and after creating a separate CSS file, we need to attach that file to our HTML file. So that's the external CSS. And what is the difference between inline, internal, and external CSS? Inline we use for testing purpose. We can say that for testing, is it working? Is CSS our CSS whatever we have applied CSS, is it working or not? For checking, for testing purpose, we use inline CSS. Internal CSS, we can say that suppose if you want to if you build a single page, a web page, right? You use a static page, single static page. So you can use the internal CSS, okay? But the recommended way is every time you use the external CSS, okay? In in professional way also, everyone use the external CSS over there, okay? Great. So external CSS, okay? Correct. So external CSS means we have externally created separate file. We have externally created separated separate separate CSS file, and then link that file to HTML. Okay, great. Okay. So this is the external CSS. External CSS, first we create a external CSS file, then we link that file to an HTML. So, okay, so I will explain you through an practical example also. How can first we create, how can we use the external CSS? First we need to create an external CSS. So go to the file and create a style.css. You can see that. Okay. So this is our external CSS file. Okay. And uh, I have used a style .css name here, but you can use any name. Like you can mention external .css also. Only the .css is mandatory. Okay. Before that .css, you can do any name. Okay. It's depend upon you. So I have used the style.css name here. Okay, so the second thing is first we need to create a separate CSS file and then link that file to an HTML. So how to link that external CSS file to our HTML file? So we have linked that external CSS in head section using a link tag. Okay, link tag. We can link our we can link our external CSS in HTML file. Okay, great. Using a link tag only we can link. Okay, great. And in HREF, you need to mention your external CSS file name. Okay. In my case, I have created style.css. For that reason only, I have mentioned style.css in HREF. Okay, great. So, till now we have covered. Okay, I have not given example for external, right? So for external, I have attached already. So for external, I just use one heading, H3 heading. This is the external CSS. Okay, and you can see the output. This is an external CSS. Okay. So now there is a no styling applied to H3, right? So now we have apply a style, but we use external CSS over here. Okay, so how can just write H3 here and change color to which color? Okay, crimson. Okay, great, great. You can see, right? We have successfully style our H3. We have changed the color of our H3, right? So in this way, we will use our CSS. We can use CSS according to our use. We can use internal CSS, we can use inline CSS, we can use external CSS. But recommended way is always use the external CSS. Why? Because if you use internal inline CSS, your code is very messy, right? And you are facing a lot of issue uh, when when you are debugging your code, when you are looking some elements and some part of your code. So for that, it make your code very messy. For that reason only, by professional way, we will always recommended use external CSS. Okay, great. So till now we have covered what is a CSS, why it is important, how to add a CSS. There are different way how can we add a CSS. Okay. So coming to our third topic, what is a CSS syntax? Okay. Till uh, till here, I have explained how we use a CSS. Okay, and I have given the example like this, right? H3 curly brackets, colors, and so what is this? This is the syntax. Okay, this is the syntax of our CSS. So the third topic is CSS syntax. I will explain what is syntax. So first is always be a selector. In CSS, first is always a selector, then curly brackets, opening and close. Then you have a property, and then second have a value. Okay. So what is a selector? Selector means it is an element, which element you want to apply style, right? So for that, that applying style, you need to select an element, right? So you need a selector over there, right? So in our case, we have applied color to H3, right? So H3 is a selector. You can see here. If I'm going my cursor to S3, you can see selector, right? So S3 is a selector, right? So in this way, so selector is anything. Selector can be paragraph, selector can be images, selector can be uh, anchor tag, selector can be paragraph tag, list tag, anything. Okay, anything which we want to style or any element we want to style, so that element we need to select, right? So that selector, we use a selector over there to select the element. That's simple. Okay. Property is the uh, what property you want to apply to that selector. Okay. So here we have applied color property on S3, right? So in this way, and value is the actual value. We use which color here? Crimson, right? So crimson. If you want to change to blue, so we have directly mentioned value directly here, blue, right? So in this way, you can see the output also. You can say, right? This is external. So this is the basic syntax of our CSS. Okay. First is a selector, curly bracket, properties, and their value. Great. So till here, we have covered three topics. What is CSS? Why it is important? How to add a CSS in HTML? What are the different ways to add a CSS? In we have learned what is the inline CSS, internal CSS, external CSS. Okay, and the difference also, and what is the basic syntax of CSS. So the four. Okay, so move on our next topic: types of selector. Okay, so first understand what is a selector. I have already explained you. Okay, selector is it is an element. We can say that with the help of selector, we can select an element which we want to apply any styling to that element. Suppose if you want to apply styling to paragraph, so in our case, paragraph is a selector. Suppose if you want to apply style to image, so in that case, image is an selector. Suppose if you want to change the list background color, if you want to apply some styles on list, so in that case, list is a selector. Okay, so this is the selector. And there are different types of selector in CSS, and I will explain you one by one what are that types. So first is a element selector, second is a class selector, third one is a ID selector, grouping selectors, and universal selector. Okay. So element selector is the selector which is used. It is used to select. It is used to select an element. Okay. Element. Like like in previous example I have shown you, right? So S3 is an element selector. Okay, because S3 is an element, right? So this is the element selector. Okay. Okay. So element selector is a selector we use to select an element. It is a selector we use to select an element. And example of element selector is paragraph, uh, then heading, then H3, then H2, H1, in any heading. Okay, cover all heading inside it. Okay, paragraph, image, and image. Any element you want to style and you want to select that element, we can just use element selector over there. Okay, so this is the element selector align. Great. Okay, so what is a class selector? Okay. So class selector we use, suppose if you want to style more than one. Okay, and if you want to style more than one element, so in that case you need to mention some classes to that element and you directly use that classes for styling. Okay, so it is used for more than one same element. We can say that same element it is used for more than one same element styling. Okay, in simple way we can say that. Great. Okay, I will explain you through an example what is a class selector. So basically, remember we use this class selector. We can access a class selector, or we are apply styling class selector using a dot symbol. Okay, remember only this. I will explain it to. Suppose in our paragraph, in our HTML page, okay, sorry, in our HTML page, suppose if you have, if you have, okay, if you have a three paragraph and you want to apply style to the first two paragraph only, okay, so so in that case, you use a class selector. Okay. Why you use class selector? Why you are not using element selector over there? Suppose if you use element selector, so it will apply a CSS styling to all the three paragraphs. Okay. But we need only two, first and second paragraphs. So we can write like this. We mention class, right? Class second CSS, and same class we can mention here also, because we only apply styling to this two paragraph. Okay, so when we, okay, so now how we access a class selector, I have already told you, right? Using a dot operator, you can use dot operator or symbol, you whatever you want to call, you can call. Okay, so dot is necessary for accessing your class selector. Okay, so what is our class selector? Is second CSS, right? So so we can directly use like this. And suppose if we change the color to we can change color to dark orange. Okay, so you can see the output, right? You are successfully styled only two paragraph, first and second. Okay, so in this case only we use classes. Okay, great. So coming to our third selector, ID selector. So ID selector, it is a unique in one page. Okay, and remember, every ID is unique in HTML page. Okay, in CSS also, every ID selector has a unique property. Always ID, whenever you use ID, na, it's always it's unique. There is a no same ID in your web page is not present. Okay, always it is always be unique. You can say that it's always be a unique. Okay, ID selector. And how to access a, how how can we access in bracket mention, we can access classes within dots. And how to access a ID selector using a hash symbol. Okay, hash symbol. Okay, great. So I will show you. So this is our third paragraph, right? We have already we have applied. Okay, great. So I have created one more. I have created one heading. Okay, H4 here, and this is a heading 4. Okay, great. So you can see, right? There is a no styling applying for H4 here, right? But now we want to apply styling on H4, but we use a ID. So just directly write here ID over here, like first ID, first. You can write first ID. Okay, an ID always be unique. Okay, suppose if you create another heading, and if you are giving same ID like first to the another heading, so it will be issue. Okay, in future it will cause an error, or it will cause an issue. Okay, simple. So always remember, ID always be a unique. Okay, great. So H4 ID is first. Okay, so suppose if you want to style, and if you want to select your element through an ID, so you use a hash symbol there, curly brackets. and sorry, what is our first, right? Dot first, and you can mention color, color equal to blue violet, and I give one more property, font size equal to larger. Okay, you can see, right? This is our heading for color and font size. So in this way, we can select ID selector, and in this way, dot using a dot, we can select a class selector, and using a hash symbol, we can access ID selector. Okay, so great. So we have covered three selector in our CSS. Okay, so the next selector is a grouping selector. So you can see, right, as a name, grouping. So grouping selector means you can select, you can style, mm, you can style a multiple element at a one time. Uh, like you can style paragraph also. You can style, you can style uh, H3 also. You can style image also at the same time. Okay, so using a grouping selector, you can use a grouping selector to style all the different element at the same time, and same style you can apply, right? Great. So this is the grouping selector, and last one is a universal selector. As a name, universal means uh, it's whatever we have written inside a universal selector, it will be applied to whole document. Okay, whole HTML document. It will apply to for whole document, and we can say that it's a default styling, CSS styling. We can say that it's a it's a default CSS styling. Okay, it is a default CSS styling, and it styles styles on whole HTML document, whole HTML. It will affect, okay, will affect, it will affect on on whole HTML doc, okay, or page. We can say that page. Simple, great. Okay, so this is the universal selector. I will show you the universal selector. So you can see, right? This is our CSS. This is the output of our code, right? First understand. So by default, browser gives some default margin and padding to our HTML page. Okay. So suppose if we use a universal selector to change the styling and margin and padding of our web page, so you use universal selector like this. So for universal selector, you use the asterisk symbol over there and write like margin 0 and padding 0. Okay. And remember, universal selector, whatever we have written inside a universal selector, it apply on whole page. Okay. And it's a default setting. In simple way, we can say it is a default setting. By default, it's look like margin 0 and padding 0. But in future, we can change margin. Okay. Suppose if you want to change this H2 margin. Okay. So how can we change? Like specifically, we can mention H2. We want to change margin to 20 pixel. Okay, so in simple way you can say, right, this is a H2, right, margin 20 pixel, right? So whatever we have written inside universal selector, we can simply say that it is a by default setting. Okay, it's a default setting, we can say that. Great. So till now I have covered four topic in CSS. So the last topic is text styling. Okay, so how can we style our text? So there are some properties. Okay, there is a not only a four property. There are a lot of properties in CSS, but I am explaining only four property here. Okay, like font size, font family, color, and text styling. Okay, so I have created one I can say that one paragraph. Okay, and this is a text styling para. Okay, great. And I have give one ID to this para. Second, right? We use first already, right? Great. So, so the first text styling as as a name, right? Text styling we use for styling our text. So there are some properties like font size, font family, color, text align. So font size, using a font size, we can change the size of our font. This. So first of all, I will show you. We have created one paragraph, right? You can see, right? Great. So by default, there is a no styling over here. Okay, only the red color we have already uh, we have given this styling here, not this styling, right? So we need to comment this styling. I'll show you. Okay, so we have created one para. Okay, so there is a no styling apply over here, right? So suppose if you want to change the font of your paragraph text, so you can use a ID selector, right? And what is the ID selector? It's a second. So, array, curly brackets. Okay. So want to change. First we learn our font size. Okay. Using a font size, we can change. We can increase our font size. We can decrease. Okay. We can change the font size of our text. So font size equal to I have mentioned 30 pixel over there. Okay. So you can see the output, right? This is our text. We can increase the size of our font, right? Using 30. Suppose if you change to 60 pixel, you can see, right? This is so this is the changing the font. So this is the styling of it is we can say that it is a text styling. Okay, simple. And the second one is a font family. Using a font family, we can change the font. By default, it's look like this. Okay, so suppose if you want to change, by default, it's look like this. Okay, but if you want to apply font family over here, okay, like this. By default, if you use a Arial Helvetica, so it will change the style of your font, right? Great. So, and you can see here over here, it is a font family specify a prioritized list of font family names of generic family names. A user agent interacted through the list of family names until it matches an available font that contain a glab foreign character to be rendered. Basically, it will say that whatever the font are available, we will show. Great. We will show for you. Okay, we will show for you. Great. So the third is a color property. Okay, so by default, it's a black in color, right? Our para is black in color. We can change to any color we want. Suppose we change to green, not green. Okay, we can use color to So you can success yeah, using a color property, right? So these all are the uh, text styling property. Okay, using this property, we are styling to text. For that reason, we have mentioned this is a text styling property. And last one is a text align. Okay, so using text align, we can align our text. Suppose by default, our text is aligned to left side of our web page, right? But we can align to right side, and as well as we can align our text to the middle of our web page also. Okay, so how can we? So just simply write like text align and center. If you want to align your text in center of your web page, so you can write like this. Okay, I will. Why it's not looking in center? Because we have increased the size of our font, right? Suppose if I decrease the size of icon, you can see right. You can see right. We have successfully aligned our font to the center of our page. Okay, great. So, so today we have covered all five topics. Okay, and we have covered all the topics with an examples, with a practical examples and implementations. So I think you have get an idea, right? How CSS works, how we can apply CSS, what are the different types of CSS, right? And what are the selectors in CSS, right? Great. So uh, that's all for today's session. And next session we will cover more topics on CSS. And if you find this video helpful, so like and subscribe channel for more tutorials. And thank you so much, guys. Thanks for watching my videos. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care.